Hey everyone, Lundberger here. Now that the first two events of the official Pokemon competitive season have been over, there's definitely been a lot of changes that have been going on, but you don't have to take my word for it. I gathered some of the experts. They're going to let you know what's going on this week for Pokemon.
Hi there trainers, my name is Martijn. I'm a content creator, shoutcaster for Pokemon and also the 2024 World Finalist, you can see by my trophy. And I'm here to give you an update about PvP, about raids and what is to come in this week in Pokemon Go. Let's start right away off with the most exciting event. It's going to be the Galarian Expedition. If you've seen the Dortmund Regional Championship last weekend, you saw two Galarian Moltres in the Grand Finals. And this is a pretty rare Pokemon you can only catch through Adventure Incense. You can use it once a day. They last 15 minutes unless you use Roar of Time from Origin Dialga, which makes it last a little bit longer. And in this event, the Galarian birds debuted in their shiny form. Super exciting for many players. This is your opportunity to catch a really good rare Pokemon and even add this Pokemon to your competitive roster as well, because these finals have shown it's very valuable. On top of that, Zamazenta will be back in raids and it will also debut in its shiny form. It looks really pretty. Zamazenta will be accompanied by Mega Blaziken in Mega Raids for that week as well, and for the entire month of October we'll have Shadow Entei. Not the best Pokemon for PvP, but it will be there in its shiny form, so make sure you get that while it's there. Next up, we have Community Day on Saturday. We'll have Sewaddle being featured and will also be debuting in its shiny form. It will evolve into Leaveney that can then learn Shadow Claw, giving it access to Shadow Claw, Leaf Blade and Axe Scissor. A really dangerous combination into the meta and can threaten Pokemon like Feraligatr and Malamar easily. It is a little bit fragile, but the offensive pressure can be really good if you can put this grass and bug type Pokemon in the right position. So make sure to get that one. You can use your Leaveney right away because we'll have another week of Great League in the Go Battle League. There will also be a week of Galar Cup in Great League Edition. Only Pokemon found in the Pokemon Sword and Shield Pokédex can be used here, and that makes Pokemon like Galarian, Weezing, the Mandibuzz, Diggersby top Pokemon to use here. It's going to be a very bulky meta, and I believe we're going to have some core breakers such as Quagsire to do well into some of these Poison, Fairy, Dark type cores. The final event that you need to be aware of if you play PvP, there will be another Rocket Takeover starting Tuesday, October 8th. And this is a great opportunity to TM frustration of your Shadow Pokemon, so they will be viable for PvP and for raids. Not only that, but there may also be new Shadow Pokemon in the rotation that could be viable for PvP, and also Pokemon that have not been in the rotation for a while. These are some really good events that we're going to have in Pokemon Go this week, so make sure you get what you want and what you need. Hope that makes you a little bit aware and informed. Now let's toss it to the next game.
Hey yo, Doobsnax here, you're on this guy on Eos Island, here to talk to you about what's new, or at least what's going on this week in Pokemon Unite. If you watched last week, Zoinks mentioned to you about the Sylveon Orange Tag Hollowware that has come to the game. Well, it's here, and it is tough sledding for the kids. Now, if you take a look at how you actually achieve this Hollowware, it is an absolute labyrinth of convoluted boxes and upgrades, and spending gems to open boxes, or to upgrade boxes to open them faster, etc., etc., and it becomes, well, quite frankly, an absolute disaster. Ultimately, that new orange tier skin for Sylveon is going to run you about $120, but here's what's got everybody up in arms. Is the process is long, it's confusing, and if you aren't the most efficient at it, you could spend $100, I've heard even up to $200 more than if you were just truly understood the system and did it as efficient as possible. Now, I've watched Spraggles made a wonderful video on this. I actually had to watch it twice just to get a grasp of exactly how this exchange system worked, upgrading the boxes to get the Sylveon skin. It's got everybody upset. Why? Because some people just want to know what it costs to get something and get it. Now, what did the Gotra introduction to all of Pokemon Unite do? Well, it had a lot of collateral damage, and it turns out the premium or prime collateral damage was to Belgium and the Netherlands. 2 regions that starting November 2025 will no longer be supported in Pokemon Unite. And the thought is because those 2 countries have some of the strictest gambling rules out there. To be fair, a lot of mobile games and a lot of these types of games, for example, like Pokemon Masters, is not available because of that gacha-based mechanic that's in it. So, what does that lead me to believe? It leads me to believe that, Pokemon Unite has put on the scale Belgium and Netherlands and China. And China has way dominated both of those regions in terms of potential market space and money to be made. So they're kind of making that decision early so that there's a year of adjustment that can happen before they're cut off in November 2025. If you're thinking about it in a positive way, though, or a silver lining way, it means that there's going to be Unite in 2026 because, as you know, the competitive season this year is starting in November and they are cut off November 1st, 2025 next year, right around when the next competitive season of Pokemon Unite would start. And in my opinion, competitive Unite is the best thing going in Pokemon Unite. If you haven't watched Worlds, NEIC, Final Stretch, AOS Cup at the EUIC, you know that live events are absolutely prime. And again, if you watched last week, you know that LAIC is the first Pokemon Unite event of the year, and it's the first time Unite has been in the LATAM region. You know they ball out of control for live events. You know they're going to show up and show out, and you know it's a great way to kick off the season. So, full circle, the silver lining of them getting an extra year in Unite, them being Belgium and the Netherlands, to me indicates that there's going to be a competitive season of Unite going into 2026. And that is certainly a silver lining that I personally am very willing to smile about. Sylveon's expensive. The system to get the skin is awful. Belgium and the Netherlands might be getting the axe, are getting the axe right now in 2025. And long range prediction, competitive Unite is back for 2026 season. That's all I've got for you this week. Doobsnax here. Peace, love, and hugs. Be safe, and I will see you at LAIC. If I don't see you, better tune in.
This week in the Pokemon TCG, we had our first regional level event happening in Europe, over in Dortmund in Germany. We didn't see any real new decks from Stellar Crown making an impact in top 8. That is a new set that was legal for the first time this weekend. Yeah, that's right. First weekend of Stellar Crown being legal. We did see Tord Reklev make our first asymmetrical top cut with Terrapagos, but by the time we got down to the top 8, none of the new decks are anywhere to be seen. The final was actually contested by an American player, Rahul Reddy, and a Japanese player, Ryuki Okada, with Dragapult and Ryuki taking the win. So not a new deck per se, but an old deck which got considerably better with cards like Sparkling Crystal from Stellar Crown. Also important to note that the rules change this year means that players from outside the TPCI region, like Ryuki from Japan, can earn a Worlds invite by coming over and winning a European regional. So that's something to look for as we go forward. We've had a Japanese winner at our first European regional, and I'm just thinking Ryuki might be giving other Japanese players some ideas. In terms of news for this week, what we really had was reveals from the upcoming Super Electric Breaker. That is a Japanese set coming out in a couple of weeks, which is going to be Surging Sparks over here, including Palisand EX, which I personally did not see coming, but I'm delighted about. It can reduce your opponent's entire bench down to 100 HP remaining. There has got to be a way to make use of that. Also a new A-Spec Amulet of Hope, which lets you search for free cards if it's attached to a Pokemon that goes and gets KO'd. That's something to look out for, isn't it? In terms of releases this week, we do have the Charizard Super Premium Collection, which, I mean, look, it's a big Charizard box. It has a Charizard figure that can hold Pokemon cards. It has an alternate art Charizard EX promo. It has Charmander and Charmeleon and a whole bunch of booster packs. I think this one might be a little bit popular. So there we go. Competitive news, reveals, what's coming out this week, what more do you need? Wossy out.
Hey everyone, Lee Provost here, one of your friendly European VG casters. The Dortmund Regional Championships was the first big EU event of the 2025 season, and just 1 week after the Baltimore Regional Championships in the US. It was now time for our European trainers to get the chance to showcase how they thought the Regulation H format was best tackled. Of course, a quick recap if you've been hiding under a rock for the past couple of weeks, the Regulation H rule set saw all legendary and restricted Pokemon banned. That's Pokemon like Ogerpon, Urshifu, and Miraidon in both Calyrex forms. With these powerhouse Pokemon benched for the next few months, this gives a lot of the maybe not so frequently seen Pokemon the chance to shine. The Day 1 usage stats saw Pokemon like Incineroar and Rillaboom top the usage stats, but the stars to kick off the proceedings were familiar faces like Annihilape and its well-known partner Mousehold. Although unlike the offensive Mousehold we saw win the Baltimore Regional Championships, our European trainers were opting for more support of Follow Me and beat-up sets. Ochaladon, Goldingo, and Primarina were extremely popular picks and all performed well as we made our way through the early Swiss rounds. But the big talking points were surrounding other Follow Me supporters that were picking up in popularity, namely Electabuzz and Magmar. These Generation 1 Pokemon offered great ways to enable partnering Pokemon to set up and break opposing walls, but which one was better? Electabuzz of course offered speed control through its Electro Web support, but Magmar had the offensive capabilities alongside the support with those fire-type attacks that were great into the steel and grass-type Pokemon. We even had a killer Wattrel dominate their opponent during round 7 in record time as well, when Evolve Ligar brought all the players in spice with the Galarian Weezing, Toedscruel, and Garchomp. Day 1 was a wild mix of teams, and this was amplified further into Day 2. We opened the show continuing the early Swiss round, seeing Jack Clark bring a very unconventional team featuring a Terra Normal, boom-bursting Toxtricity that actually made it all the way to the top cut. But it was Davide Moralia who stole the show with even more innovation using their Double Dragon, Double Ghost, and Double Fairy team. The star of the team was the Clefable, an overlooked Follow Me user coming into Dortmund with its Unaware ability that ignored any stat boost from opposing Pokemon. It supported Annihilape unbelievably well, and Davide's team was like nothing we had seen all weekend, proving far too much for their opponent Matty Morgan to handle and taking it all in the finals. It was a phenomenal performance by Davide. The Dortmund Regional Championships has now set the scene as we head towards our next Regional Championships in Lille in a couple of weeks' time. With redirectors on our radar and Pokemon like Goldingo, Ochaladon, Dragapult, and Annihilape all making waves, how will trainers adapt to better deal with these huge meta-defining threats and innovate the next winning trend?